Again, you guys, be careful where you're getting your information from, because most people on YouTube don't have a clue about what they're talking about. Again, I don't know what it's going to take for people to help share this information. Another popular YouTube channel covered this, and you know, they were blaming this on Zionist banksters. It's like, Is that who did it? I don't think that's who it's synced up with. Pretty sure it's synced up with the Jesuits and Catholic Church. It was also 100 days after the Pope's birthday, and the name of the shooter equaled 100. Again, you guys, be careful where you're getting your information from, because most people on YouTube don't have a clue about what they're talking about.
Excuse me 1 second. What sound is he making? Is that like a tisk?
It wasn't a tisk. It was like a glottal stop. Almost a gag reflex.
Meanwhile, on this channel, we back it up with facts every single day.
You know, my brother is a speech therapist.
Anonymity.
So?
The goal is a world system, a totalitarian world system where evidently they believe that the elite will survive and live very, very well. I just don't know how they can be so sure that their children and grandchildren are going to have the same benefits. It's something that all of us ponder, and it's very evil. But it goes back to Germany, and if you keep going back, tracing it back, it goes really back here. It goes right back to...
What book is this?
This is an original copy of Proofs of a Conspiracy, and
What does this date from? What
it
year?
dates from 1798.
This book is from 1798.
Yes, this book is from 1798.
Wow.
And it is by John Robeson. Proofs of a Conspiracy Against All the Religions and Governments of Europe, carried on in the secret meetings of Freemasons, Illuminati, and reading societies.
German Kabbalists developed Gematria, a mystical numerical interpretation of the scriptures in the 13th century.
But it goes back to Germany, and if you...
It is how you say coinkydink.
Again, you guys, be careful where you're getting your information from, because most people on YouTube don't have a clue about what they're talking about.
Why don't you take a fucking look at this?
Well, because World War II was simply a rerun of World War I, exactly the same cast of characters, and in fact it was the same person, Colonel Mandel House, whose father was a Rothschild agent during the Civil War, and the senior House managed to have runners, privateers, bring cotton from the South to the British mills so that they could operate during the Civil War. So he made a lot of money, of course. And at the end of the Civil War, Colonel House was the only person in the state of Texas who had any money. So he took over the entire Democratic Party in the southern states, which were occupied territory, and still are. You still have two political parties in the South. They're called the Carpetbaggers and the Scalawags. The carpetbaggers are the Republicans, and the scalawags are the Democrats. And you have exactly the same government that you have had in martial law in 1865, with the same people running everything. It's a perfect setup because everybody knows each other, everybody agrees with each other. There hasn't been a political contest in any southern state since 1865. The people who rewrote we started off with the Articles of Confederation. See, that's where the Confederacy comes from, because when the southern states seceded from the Union, they were exercising the prerogative which they had been given during the Articles of Confederation to secede at any time. You see, the Articles of Confederation gave every state complete autonomy over its own power, over its own people. And so the southern states in 1860 decided to secede from the Union, which they had a perfect right to do. But in 1787, they rewrote the Articles of Confederation, and it was actually a secret convention of Masons in Philadelphia, and they rewrote the Constitution to create a federal government, mainly for the borrowing power. The bankers wanted a country which could have a borrowing power and which could pay back the money, and that was not possible under the Articles of Confederation. The United States colonies, when they won the American Revolution, they set up a governing document called the Articles of Confederation of the United States of America. And that was our sole constitution. But then these Masons got together in 1787 and said, we need a instrument of federal power, and we need an instrument able to borrow money and repay it. And that's why they rewrote the Articles of Confederation, and that's why they did it in secret, because they didn't dare tell anybody that that's what they wanted to do, to set up a dictatorial federal power, which the Supreme Court was invented to maintain federal power. The Supreme Court always says that the rule of law is the United States. Well, the rule of law is simply the rule of bandits who control the United States. That is the rule of law. And if you violate that law, you'll be killed.
Again, you guys, be careful where you're getting your information from, because most people on YouTube don't have a clue about what they're talking about.
Why don't you take a fucking look at this?
Ray, look at me.
I think the divisions now are more systemic.
Sound is he making? Is that like a tisk?
What?
Because they're economically rooted. I think one of the big things that has happened to polarize our country.
It wasn't a tisk. It was like a glottal stop. Almost a gag reflex.
There hasn't been a political contest in any southern state since 1865.
Look at me, Ray.
Are these giant gaps between rich and poor, the hollowing out, the erosion of the middle class. Guys, what is this?
Did you just say look at you?
Look at me, Ray.
Hi, Chelsea. It's your lucky day.
I tell you what, Harry. Why don't you take a fucking look at this?
But considering, you're my annual birthday save.
Don't come any closer.
Life is a precious gift. To throw yours away would be a real slap in the Lord's face, don't you think?
And have a peek at this. You know, Harry, this is the exact fucking thing I needed. A little fucking exercise after that long fucking plane ride.
You don't want to go to hell for all eternity, do you?
I'm Jewish.
You know what, Chelsea? I think you should jump. Jump.
The interpretation of numbers was highly valued in early Hebrew history. The Hebrew alphabet's letters were based on numbers, and this relationship was linked to cosmic forces. The teachings of Merkabah, a Jewish sect, spawned a numerical mysticism in the Middle Ages. German Kabbalists developed Gematria, a mystical numerical interpretation of the scriptures in the 13th century. German Kabbalists developed Gematria, a mystical numerical interpretation of the scriptures in the 13th century. German Kabbalists developed Gematria, a mystical numerical interpretation of the scriptures in the 13th century.
Is that who did it? I don't think that's who it's synced up with.
Why don't you take a fucking look at this?